Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Your Mental Health Matters. My name is Crystal Kelly, and this is brought to you by our neutral voices. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy
Happy
Friday.
Friday.
We made it through the week.
Rejoice.
Yes. Come on. Come on. So tonight we're going to get right into it. We're going to get into anxiety. I know in our last podcast we talked about anxiety. We kind of broke it down, but we want to break it down a little bit more so you guys can have a more understanding of what that is, what it looks like, and how to seek out help for it. So let's just go with the basic. Like, what is anxiety? How do I know that I have anxiety?
All right. So
Let's jump into it.
Yeah.
Yes. What is anxiety?
Well, I mean, I would say for me, the way I always treated anxiety in therapy is there's two components. There's the body's biological response to fear,
Yeah.
which, fight or flight.
Yep,
Every
that's it.
creature has it. Every living thing has it.
That's right.
And it's functional. It's meant to keep you alive. But then there's also the mind's perception of anxiety and fear. And I always say things like, if a tiger was chasing me, that fear I could, possibly get away from. I
Right.
could get indoors or, you know what I mean? I can run from the tiger. But if it's a fear I carry in my head, how do I get away from that? I take it everywhere I go.
Yes.
It's with me when I'm awake, when I'm asleep,
Right.
and I'm constantly running from this threat and I can't get away from it. So the body itself is creating these biological, physiological responses to fear that I can't resolve. And to me, that's anxiety, those two components, to the point where it's trying to get you to run from a threat. And it's like, oh, you didn't get the message?
Right, right.
Fear, run. You didn't get the message. Heart's beating faster.
That's
You didn't get
it.
the message. Well, and then panic attack. It breaks down. And obviously I'm oversimplifying it a bit, but
No,
that's
it's on
kind of
point.
the way I usually, I like to conceptualize it.
I like that. That's on point right there.
So it's that fear of the fear. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And again, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real threat or a
Right.
perceived threat. It's even worried about threats that happened in the past, threats that may come about but may never come.
Yes.
Just
Right.
fear of fear.
Yeah. To be point blank about it. Yeah. So anxiety holds a lot of people hostage.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like you said, you wake up with it, you think about it, you carry it with you, and people can't live like their best selves
Yeah.
when they're
Constantly.
Yeah.
on that. Yeah.
hostage by anxiety. So when it comes to anxiety, what are some symptoms? What are things that we notice when we are under anxiety?
I think we have a lot of physical changes.
Yeah.
Increase in heart rates. Like Sal said, the panic.
Yeah.
Panic feeling
Yeah.
of being maybe nervous in anticipation of a fearful
Right.
event. And it could be something that you've already done before, but still, even with stage fright,
Right.
you
That's a
have
big
some of
one.
that anxiety, but the heart rate increases, a lot of perspiration,
Yeah, sweating.
sweating, and then just nervousness overall. I think those are some of the basic ones.
Again, kind of going back to the tiger analogy.
Yeah.
Like you said, the heart rate's going to increase.
Yeah.
If I'm running from a tiger,
Right.
because I need blood pumping through my muscles, I need the oxygen to get throughout my body, so I'm more effective at running. Another thing that happens is your stomach stops digesting food. Digestion
That's a
slows
big
down.
one.
Because again, 80% of our energy goes to breaking down food for nutrition, and who cares if I'm live to digest lunch
Right.
If you're gonna be
Straight up.
if I'm
Yeah.
gonna be lunch, right?
Right.
And so that's one thing that stops, and I see that a lot with people that struggle with anxiety, stomach issues, stomach pains, acid reflux, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, indigestion.
You hit the
Chest
big
pains.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Chest
all that
pains.
digestive stuff. Yeah, and again, I think it's if for most people, if it happens in a situation where it's out of place, like if I'm running from a tiger, I'm not thinking about my heart rate. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
I'm trying to live. But if I'm in a situation like, I don't know, about to take a test in math class and I feel these things in my body,
Yes.
now I'm more likely to fixate on them. And so they increase.
That's right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
it. That's
Heart rate
it.
goes up even further, and so that's where I think you get also the trouble breathing. A lot of people get that trouble breathing
Yeah.
when it comes to anxiety as a symptom. So
Yeah. And then too, we hold it in our body. Like you just said, you got to pay attention to what your body is feeling, what it's going through.
What it's telling you.
Yeah, what it's telling you.
Yeah,
Because a lot of people, I know when I see clients, people don't really know what anxiety is per se. And it's always good to give that psychoeducation.
I agree.
Yeah.
In basic terms.
Yeah, for people to understand
To
it.
understand it.
And that's why we're bringing it tonight, because the way that the world is right now, it's a lot going on.
Yes.
It's a lot going on. So I know a lot of people are scared. There's a lot of people who are nervous because of just so much is going on in the world. And so being able to understand what your body is doing in the moment and knowing that there is relief. It's just a matter of understanding what you're going through in that moment.
True.
And
So
put
the
it in
education,
perspective.
the education helps you get that perspective.
Yes.
So then you can actually seek the help.
That's right.
You know. And I think you touched on something too. You know, anxiety is a component of a lot of things we deal with. As far as we talked about trauma before, and anxiety is a response to that. Social issues,
Right.
cultural issues. You know, and a lot of people getting anxious about political stuff, elections, the whole cultural
Straight
climate. I mean, there's a lot that I think people we ingest a lot and don't know what to do with it.
That's
The
it.
coping.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to that, there is help out there.
Yeah.
There are, tools and support systems in place. But again, if you don't know what it is,
That's right.
how do you seek the help?
That's right. So again, let's go over the symptoms. Again, if you're noticing, okay, shortness of breath, racing heart, beating heart, constantly, your mind is running. You can't shut your mind off at night. You can't sleep at night. You can't concentrate.
Right.
Like those are all symptoms of anxiety. Ruminating, when you're constantly thinking about the same thing over and over, and that's exhausting. When you ruminate like that.
And then I would say, some of the things that contribute to that,
Yeah.
like Sal was saying, some of the stresses of life, like work,
Yeah.
pressures
work.
at work,
Yes, yes.
pressures in the household, and then also being on all the time, like with
that's
your
a big
gadgets. That's a big
one.
thing. And if your brain is constantly on, you're going to have some of those symptoms of the
Right.
anxiety and not having, if you're not having a way to disconnect,
Right.
at some point every day. You have to
to.
disconnect,
Very
get
true.
some deep breathing in and relax,
Yeah.
because that will actually kind of calm down some of those symptoms if you can do that.
Yeah.
And those are some of the natural ways. But then when it gets to a point where you need to seek professional help
Yeah.
and possibly medication, however, we always recommend trying to do it a natural way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real. I go back to, you can take a bunch of Xanax and not feel no anxiety. You won't feel nothing.
Nothing. Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, but
Straight up.
it goes back to the thinking. It goes back to being able to stop those,
Yeah.
those thoughts. It's about, finding ways to be proactive about managing your
Yes,
stress.
that's right.
And going back to the screens and stuff. If you getting up and the first thing you're doing is you're ingesting
all-
negativity,
Yeah.
the news,
All the stress.
maybe it's a good idea to not do that for the first few minutes while
Straight
you're awake
up.
and your brain is still susceptible to all these messages. You know what I mean? Take a break. Don't start checking the news till 10. I don't know. Don't check it at all. Maybe,
Don't
once
check
a
it at all.
week.
Right.
Every
Yeah.
other day,
Yeah.
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 I used to read the paper every day. I was in a classroom and we'd read stories to the kids each day. Just, we wanted them to know what was going on in the world.
Right.
But I noticed that after day, week after week, month after month, I was more stressed.
Yeah.
Negativity.
Taking it all in.
Because then I get in the car and listen to the news, and then I get home and watch the news. You know what I
That's
mean? And it was just
right.
a lot to carry. So I
Yeah.
don't do that no more though.
Okay. So anxiety, is one of the top, things that a lot of us go through. So let's talk about how can we manage our anxiety. And I know we were just getting into that, but I just want to lay it out for people to know that there is help.
Yeah.
There is ways to kind of cope with your anxiety. So yes, medication is always there. But as a therapist, I always tell my clients, like, let's go the natural route.
Yeah.
Let's try that route, in order to kind of see if we can manage it in a healthier way.
Right.
All right. So one particular method that I like to practice is mindfulness.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if people understand what mindfulness is, but mindfulness is being in the moment, being present. Anxiety takes us out of that. It takes us into the past. It takes us into the way future.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how can we figure out how to ground ourselves in the moment?
Yeah.
So again, knowing what your body is responding to and being able to kind of cut it off before it jumps into that high anxiety panic attack.
And I like that. I think mindfulness works for everything personally.
Most
I think
definitely.
even if you are going to take medication for anxiety, you still should do some mindfulness training.
Yes.
Then there's lots of different mindfulness exercises. One simple one that I used to teach, to kids and adults was the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1
that's
method.
my go-to. That's
which,
my go-to.
5 things you can see,
Yeah.
4 things you can feel,
Yes.
3 things you can hear,
Yep.
2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can touch, and or taste.
Yes.
But again, even if that's just your mouth,
Yeah,
a piece of gum or
right.
some water.
Right.
But doing those things puts you back. I always say put your mind back in your body. So this is in charge of how you feel instead of the other way around.
I like that.
know?
I like that.
Right.
And I think
good.
perspective is huge too. I'll go back to that. I don't know whoever said the saying. It slips my mind right now, but the quote is whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And so if you believe it's not going to work, well, no, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to sit here and do no deep breathing. What's not mindfulness? 5 things I can hear. You know what I'm saying?
It's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
So I go back to what would you rather believe in? That you have this thing
you.
called anxiety that you'll never be able to control and you're
that
going to need
something?
medication and you're going to have it the rest of your life and it's only going to get worse. Would I rather you believe that or that you can have control over it with something as simple as mindfulness?
Right.
Straight up.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems way more
I mean, can't get no
effective.
simpler than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's another skill? What's another outlet for people dealing with anxiety?
I like to go to the deep breathing,
Yes.
the diaphragmatic breathing, where you're just kind of sitting and almost like meditation. I know people have different forms of meditation, visual
Right.
meditations, just kind of thinking of a happy place or happy
Yeah.
time, happy environments. But anyway, back to the deep breathing, it's that type of breathing where you're counting in maybe 4 seconds, holding it for 2 or 3 seconds,
Right.
and then releasing it for the same amount of time. And that's that breathing where your stomach is going out,
Yeah.
not your shoulders going up. So it's the difference, and it does make a difference. And
You hit
like
the
that.
get it, yeah.
you hit the nail on the head though too, because I feel like, especially like with Western culture, where we breathe through our chest. It's like that military chest out, stomach in. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yep.
But the actual proper way to breathe is through your gut. You want to feel your
Yes.
belly
You
move.
wanna
And
feel it.
the diaphragmatic breathing is what you
Yeah.
said. And I would teach kids, because it's hard if you don't know how to do it.
Very true.
Put your hands behind your back. Because when you do that, you disengage your torso muscles, so you naturally breathe through your stomach. So
Okay.
starting deep breathing like that to kind of get the feel of it, you know how it's supposed to feel, and then you can progress from there. The other aspect is the breathing in through your nose and out through
and
your
out
mouth.
through your mouth. That's right.
Yeah.
And it gets more of that fresh air, especially if you're outside. I recommend, when you go outside for the first time during the day, definitely take a good deep breath.
Yeah.
Minus all the toxins that are in your buildings and the houses and what
Right.
have you. I think that's the best time to do it is when you're out in fresh air.
I like
And,
that.
I don't know, it just increase your circulation, getting that oxygen to your brain to get fresh thoughts.
Wakes up
love
your
that.
senses.
Oh yeah.
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 So another particular exercise that I like to put out there is exercise.
Exercise.
Totally.
Can't get no
Definitely.
better than that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
as simple as walking.
Walking.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
is the
There's
cheapest.
nothing wrong with walking.
Yes.
man. I'm telling you.
cheapest.
And available. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
Available, yeah.
24/7.
Unless your house is like right on a train track.
Well, walk in the house.
Yeah,
Walk in
that's
the
true.
house. There
Hey,
you go.
real talk. I just got one of those walking pads this week. So
Oh,
when
okay.
so when I'm at the
Okay.
computer a bunch,
Oh, I like
I'll just
that.
walk,
I like
and
that.
In between sessions, because I can be, for 4 hours, I could
Yeah,
be sitting in that chair.
sedentary.
So yeah, I've been getting up more and taking those steps. But I think exercise is great, and there's exercise out there for everybody. You don't have to
Yeah.
immediately go into resistance training, although I believe there's a lot of benefits for people with resistance
yeah.
training.
Yeah.
And
Strength
speaking
building.
speaking of anxiety, when I got 200 something pounds over my chest, I ain't thinking about the bills. I ain't worried about Christmas
that
presents
thing.
and nothing like that. Yeah, it's push. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it's another way. It's self care.
Yeah, yeah,
And
straight up.
I think most self care strategies, involve some kind of mindfulness.
Yeah.
And
straight up.
one misconception, I think we talked about this the last time, is that a lot of people tend to think that you have to be an athlete
No.
to to exercise,
Not at
and
all.
that's the biggest misconception.
Big time.
telling you.
Yeah.
And I go back to too. The older you get, you lose muscle mass, you lose bone
yeah,
density.
that's a real thing.
So if you're not use it or lose it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you
That's
don't
a
start
real
lifting
thing.
and do some kind of resistance training and start, I don't know. There's just a lot of research and science behind it. Obviously we only have so much time.
Right,
I'm
right.
not a doctor.
Let
But
me put that out
yeah,
there.
always
Yeah.
consult your doctor before
Yeah,
engaging
before
in
you
any
start.
physical
There
activity,
you go.
strenuous activity. But yeah, I think you should know. I think we should look into those things more. I go back to, I said it before, body, mind, and spirit. You
It's
gotta
all
feed
connected.
all three.
It's all
Holistic.
connected.
You gotta
Yes.
feed all three.
Yeah.
You can be the most positive person in the world, but if you feel like crap because your eating is bad
Crap.
and you're not exercising and you're not
Right,
sleeping, and
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it all,
Sleep.
yeah,
That's a good one too. That leads right
Yeah.
into that
True.
because that's very important for our mental health
Yeah.
and well-being.
balances
Getting enough sleep.
hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Refreshes
thinking
us.
about, your sleep hygiene, what does your routine look like at night?
Yeah.
So if you're up on, your computer or your
TikTok.
phone, TikTok,
Yep.
social media,
Yep.
right before you go to bed, think about that plays on your mind.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so if you're
Always
already
stimulating.
struggling with these thoughts, you can't get to sleep, we need to do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's go back to stress. When you're stressed, the first thing that goes is sleep.
Man,
You know what I mean? I know.
we need sleep.
Yeah, that's the first thing to go. It
Yeah.
is. It's restorative.
Yeah,
Right.
big
You know.
time.
So sleep's a huge one. Again, it's hard to feel good when you don't feel good.
Yeah,
And
very
so
true.
then you do hit that, anxious moment and you haven't been sleeping for days.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
and it's recommended
Yeah,
7 to 9 hours for adults
yeah.
and more for kids.
Yeah.
Really,
We need
Now,
that.
The younger kids, especially, but even teenagers need at least 10 hours of sleep. But
Mm-hmm.
we have to think about everything that they have to be accountable for. They have to be at school like at 8 o'clock, I think.
Man.
And most of them are on their phones or what have you until
Right.
like 12, 1 o'clock.
Or even
So-
if not, they're doing homework. These kids that are really driven and
That's
they're
true.
up doing homework till
Right.
1 o'clock in the morning.
And that's sad because they're not getting the proper rest and restoration
support
that
that.
they need
Very true.
to be functional. And then you look at the fact that a lot of them are over medicated too because of that. And there's some things that you can change without doing the medication. I'm not saying stop your medication.
Right. We're not
You
saying
need it,
that.
you need it.
Yeah, talk to your
Please.
your doctor before
Yes.
you do that.
Yeah.
However, take those things into consideration: proper sleep and proper nutrition,
Yeah.
and also the
Exercise,
exercising.
Big time. So think about practical ways that you can practice some of these exercises. If you're at school and you're coming, getting ready to take an exam, let me do my 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Let me do some deep breathing. If you're at work, okay, I'm getting ready on my lunch break, let me take a brisk walk, And so these are things that you can do in the moment. It's just a matter of being intentional about it.
So what about, and we can be real quick on this one.
Okay.
So what about those individuals who struggle with ADHD?
Oh, okay.
Because for them to be in this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
yeah, mine is
they
kinda
might
all-
get to 3,
right.
and
Yeah.
and not know how to, you know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
we know what it is when you have those ADHD individuals,
Yeah.
and that's not always children.
That's true. That's
So
true.
That's very
what
true,
can
too.
we give them, or what advice can we give them?
Two answers come to mind.
Okay.
One is it takes practice.
Yeah.
Practice,
Gotta
practice,
practice. Yeah.
I don't. It just is. It's just going to take some practice. The other thought is there are other ways. There are other methods. There are other things that could
Right.
work for you.
Yeah,
But you
just
got to
gotta find
explore
it.
those things.
Gotta find it. Right.
I used to tell my clients they come for anxiety, and I'm like to coping skills, and I tell them I can Google coping skills.
Yeah.
They give you 100 things
Very
to do.
simple. Right.
But what are you going to do consistently?
Right.
That's the
You know,
kicker.
that's really what it's about.
That's
and
the
you
kicker.
got to explore those things and find what's right for you. And I think some people are just unwilling to try because it seems like such a daunting process.
yeah. Yeah.
And then let's be real, our society doesn't really encourage it either.
No,
It
because
doesn't.
it's a
right.
money
It doesn't encourage work-life balance. It doesn't
No.
encourage.
That's
We
true.
just talked
Yeah.
about kids getting enough sleep each night.
Yeah.
So it is something. It's an uphill battle, but it's certainly a battle worth fighting.
That's
It
right.
And
is.
it's a battle
And
you
then
can win.
finding things that we enjoy.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about the exercising.
That's
and-
right.
Because then it's easier to stick to it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Very true.
Yeah. There's
Very true.
there's no perfect exercise. It's the one you're going to do consistently.
Exactly.
That's right.
You
Yep.
know what I
Point
mean?
blank.
So
Point
And
blank.
in one time, we're going to have to explore forest therapy.
Yeah.
And that's just being
Ooh,
in
being
nature.
in nature.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. That
shown a lot
that
of good
does
results
wonders.
with PTSD and
Yeah.
like separation anxiety type stuff. So,
Depression.
yeah, depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I've done
Okay.
some research on that one.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Being in
Okay.
nature.
So I'm loving this. This is all
Yes.
great information. So again, we're talking about anxiety. We're talking about how to manage it. We're talking about how to go about, having these particular coping skills wherever you are. And so again, it's just a matter of how can I overcome or manage my anxiety, because we all have it. At a certain degree, some people have it worse than others, but at the same token, it's just a matter of how can I be intentional with just using whatever works for me. Right. And so I want to kind of wrap up with, okay, so if you got anxiety and you got all these things going on, you got different coping skills, but you still need a little bit more direction. How about getting a therapist?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She said,
I mean-
yeah. Come on.
I
Yes.
mean, yes.
You can't go wrong. I mean, it's just a matter of finding your person.
Finding your person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And taking the stigma away from it.
Yes, it's okay to find a therapist, to have a person that you can talk to, that you can relate to, and to help you manage your anxiety. It's a lot that we're going through.
Yeah. They're not there to judge. They're there to problem solve.
That's
Problem
right.
solve,
That's
help you.
right.
And of course, nothing happens overnight. It takes time to build that relationship, to build that trust.
That's right.
And you should want that. You don't want to walk in there and they're like, hey, this is your problem. You know what I'm saying? You know me.
No.
It's a team thing.
Yeah.
I agree with
And
that
what
totally.
people I guess don't realize a lot of times is that therapists are really not there to tell you what to do.
No.
We're kind of helping you figure out,
Yeah, guide you.
help
Just
you
find a
figure out the
direction.
issue,
Yeah.
and then we help coach you to
That's
that
it.
to
That's
that
it.
goal.
Totally.
That's
Yeah.
it.
So-
So yeah, getting a therapist, how you go about that, again, you can start with your family doctor. There's definitely different websites like psychologytoday.com. Your insurance, if you have insurance, you can reach out to them to see who takes your insurance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't stress that enough. I love therapy.
Definitely encourage that.
Yeah, big time. Okay, so we're getting close to wrapping up. I want to kind of throw some other things out there for the community to know. So, Miss Tammy, what you got going on?
Oh, you want me to start first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Start. Yes.
Okay, so on March the 22nd, we have about a month out. We are having the National Drug and Alcohol Awareness event. It will be at the Renaissance Y here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We will have the exact address, our next session, and then on social media here in the next few days.
Right.
But it's to give awareness to the young people and their caregivers and parents, information on the latest drug epidemic, including cigarettes, vaping, marijuana, and what have you. We will have the information on Eventbrite for people to register, because there will be lunch served and more information to come, I guess. March 22nd, it will start at 12 noon, and again at the Renaissance Y here in Fort Wayne.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Mr. Slathio, do you have anything that you want everybody to be aware of? Or
No, not really. I will say this. What came to mind, kind of wrapping up on anxiety.
Right.
This is a little more philosophical. But one of the guys I trained with said, entertain this thought. Anxiety is not real. It is your mind's reaction to a perceived threat that hasn't happened yet, or an event in the past that's already been completed. You've already defeated that problem. You've already come through the other side. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so again, I'd rather people have that perspective on it. That it's just my mind trying to prepare me for a threat, but I don't need it to.
I like that. I like that.
You see what I'm saying? It's trying to gear you up to fight that tiger, but there's no tiger. So it's
There's
okay.
no threat. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's okay. And it's okay to feel that. Just
Right.
not interpreting it as a negative thing, but a biological response to a threat. And that's where it goes back to looking at my thoughts,
Come on.
examining those things. Journal.
Man,
We
can't get
forgot
no
to get that. Yeah.
Journal.
Yeah, that's a
get
good
those
one.
That's a
thoughts,
great one,
those
too.
fears on paper.
Help you get that perspective afterwards. After an event, you can go back and reread it and process what you were thinking and feeling.
That's right.
So, It's a good place to start too when you're going to go to therapy. You've
Come
already got this journal of your
That's
thoughts and
right.
symptoms and how you've been thinking and feeling over the last few months. That's gold right there.
Yeah, learning how to reframe. That's the kicker.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I want to kind of put out there as well is, therapy again is crucial. I think it's so important. At Uniquely You Counseling and Wellness Center, we are bringing a new service into our practice. It's called brain spotting. And so brain spotting is the whole premise of that is where you look affects how you feel. So if you want more information about that, one of these days we're going to do that as a podcast.
Definitely.
Because it's so much to it. But again, I mean, that's another outlet. It's another way to kind of manage your anxiety. So yes, I definitely want to put that out there, brain spotting therapy. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Again, this is what we do on the first and third Friday of each month at 8:30. Please protect your mind. You matter. Whatever you're going through, you're not by yourself.
You're
We're
not
here.
alone.
We're going to support. We're not going to judge. We're here. And so, again, I want everybody to know who's listening, you matter. Thank you.
Protect your mind.
Protect your mind.
Third Friday.